park. But yeah. Cool stuff. This is probably definitely my favorite. Most detailed. I feel like the most effort was put into this section. I kind of wish the entire park was like this, because I feel like if the entire park was like this, it'd definitely be a lot more. Because some of the other areas, especially, you know, the Atlantis area just seems so lifeless and so bare compared to this area down here. And then we go into, wait, this is part of the Ecus area, yes. Arrow Looper. And layouts is kind of, I don't know. I think there's some potential in the layout, or at least the ride itself, that could have made it a lot better. So adding some supports or, excuse me, more theming. It's good interaction, but other than that, I don't know. I do like how he has a lot of red flowers. I think that adds some cool cohesion. And some cool look to the path, like the sign, custom sign. It's cool, I like to see those. Obviously you gotta have the interaction, the corkscrews over the path. It's something you gotta have. And then we're back at the entrance. One thing to note is that there's a train that runs through all the sections. Well done, well interacted with, that's cool. It's a relatively large park, kind of a standard LL size for full-scale release. It's not the biggest as some of the others, not as big as some of the other spotlights we've seen in the past. Some of the older spotlights, but I believe it's a similar size as parks like Escapist and most recent LL Spotlight. So it's on pace like that. Personally, to me, I do not believe that this is a spotlight-worthy park. I believe that there's some spotlight-worthy areas, especially this area right here, and the stadium for the Atlantis Poseidon area are very cool. But some of these rest of these areas just kind of feel like they're just slapped in. They're not really as well themed as I would like to see for an LL park like this, or the layouts aren't that great. I feel like there's a lot of missed potential in the coasters that could have improved this park a lot. And I guess some of the things with this park is that it relies, I think, a lot on nostalgic for the old school LL style, or old school LL spotlights, which personally I don't really see a huge coherence with that. And then I don't really know if a park is built in the same style as a spotlight winner from 10 years ago, if it deserves to win spotlight, because I mean, it's been 10 years. You can't deny the fact that the game's evolved since then. So I think it's sort of almost like a backwards thinking that, you know, to me at least, that this park is spotlight worthy when I think there's some much better LL releases in the past couple years even that have not won spotlight that I think are much more deserving of this. Much more deserving than this. I mean, I almost feel like this is kind of like it's missed potential. I think that it could be done like building a nostalgic LL park, but I think you also have to bring some new ideas to the table for Spotlight to be considered. I think if there are peeps, or if some of the areas were a little bit more detailed and more themed or fleshed out, and more interesting themes even, and the coasters were better, I think it would have been much more worthy of Spotlight in my opinion. I think it'll be interesting to see if this will actually get Spotlight. I think it can really set a trend either way. If this wins Spotlight, I think there's going to be a lot of parks coming up in the future that I think are much more deserving than this. That should win Spotlight. If this one happens to, and I think if this doesn't, I think it sets a precedence when considering these old school parks. When it comes to Spotlight voting, I think for me, I know a lot of people complain that Spotlights are too strict, or that people don't vote a Spotlight on things when they really should, or that it's too hard to win Spotlight and people, don't make Spotlight parks anymore. And I think that's true for some cases. Like, I think there's a couple, maybe a handful of parks released in the past 2 or 3 years that I think are deserving of Spotlight. But I think at the same time, the standards of the site have always been super high, and I think the way that the community's kind of gotten so much smaller, there are fewer people capable of building Spotlight quality parks, and also combining Spotlight quality with Spotlight scale and size, which is one of the crucial things I think in a Spotlight. It either has to be a park that is incredible and has everything you could ask for in a very small package, or it has a very high level of park making in a very large package. I don't know if this really it's sizable enough. I think it can be considered a large park, but I don't know if it really lives up to the quality that I would some other LL parks in the past have, as far as ingenuity and new ideas, and ride design. And I think there's this potential that's, like I've said, it's not really reached. I'm going to actually pull up a park. The most recent LL Spotlight, which was 2011, Through the Ages. I believe I'm getting this correct. Let me check to make sure I'm not completely screwing this up. Yes, Through the Ages, 2011. To me, this park, as well as having a higher detail of architecture, higher densities of architecture, I think the coasters are much more interesting. There's more effort put into them. I think they're better placed. Like this stuff kind of here is very cool, very themed, very dense. Got some custom flats, interesting objects used in interesting ways, architecture, cool things like these forts, the water park, which is cool to see, the flyer. I'm trying to think. I think flyers are always very cool looking LL, especially the layering. This part might, for the same size, a little bit more water than Archipelago, but And again, you have to remember as well, this park was made 4 years ago. I mean, I think the state of LL has definitely changed since this park was even released. And I think the standards have increased. I mean, this was probably one of the, I think this was one of the lowest voted spotlights. I think this barely scored above the threshold for winning a spotlight. I believe it has like an 81.5, which is only 1.5% above the threshold needed for a spotlight. So today, I don't even know if this will win spotlight if it was released today. Which I think if this wouldn't win spotlight if it was released today, I definitely don't think that a park like Archipelago should. And I don't want to try to sound like I'm bashing on these park makers, but I mean, personally, this is my opinion. I don't think these parks are worthy of the awards that some people believe that they should win, or some people may be attaching to them, at least at this point. So yeah.